All right. Kendra Adachi, welcome back to the podcast. It's been a minute.
Thank you, Jeremy Goldberg.
How are you?
I am peaceful and grounded and also a little restless. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to go adventuring.
You want to go adventuring, which is a great segue to what we're going to talk about today. Because you and I went on an adventure and it became an unexpected shit show of sorts. And we're going to talk about that in the context of doing hard things, what it teaches us, and how it can contribute or rip apart a relationship. Mm-hmm. Did I sum that up okay?
Yeah, I think there's so much more to it. Like another piece for me was it was really humbling to the ego for both of us. Like I feel like we both had our separate, like, obvious experiences of this event, and like it was very humbling for me. I'm sure it was really humbling for you, and like really humbling for us together.
Maybe we can just talk about what happened, like, quickly. Like, give a quick overview of actually what occurred, and then we can kind of, as we're navigating that, we can share what we learned and how we used it.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I'll begin and you can just interject when I start forgetting or exaggerating.
Okay.
So we set off on a hike.
So this was a couple weeks ago. It was on a Tuesday.
Okay, it's very good detail. On a Tuesday, and we had the gear. We were pretty experienced outdoors people. We had a map on my phone, and we took the gondola all the way to the top of the mountain, and then we set out on this hike, and we were going to be gone 4 hours?
Like 3 to 4 hours.
3 to 4 hours
was our plan.
And it was a pretty aggressive hike. Like, it's a big hike. I mean, we were walking up a mountain. And so we did the first quarter of the hike, and then we made a sharp left turn, and we climbed our asses up a very steep Mount Habrich, I think it's called.
Yeah, I think
Mount
it was
Habrich.
that.
And it was hard.
It was definitely challenging.
That was a Black Diamond hike.
It was like almost straight up. It felt like it was a 90-degree angle. It wasn't, but it felt like that.
It was a doozy.
Yeah.
And so anyway, we got up there, and then we had an original plan to swing right and make this little loop. And then up there, I was like, oh, hey, let's go check out the view from the top, which we did. And we got naked there, and we took beautiful photographs.
It was gorgeous.
It was unbelievably beautiful. And then we decided, rather than going right, let's go left. And I was like, oh, it looks like there's a trail on my app that we can go back to where we were on my birthday. And then we decided to do that. And the trail became an adventure. We were like on the trail according to the phone, but then it would just end at like 1,000-foot drop, or we couldn't find which way to go.
And the only way to go was actually up more, literally climbing, scaling rocks, which we don't have gear for that.
No. And it was like a 50-foot face. How big do you think that one was where I left you on the side of the mountain?
Oh, I don't think it was that big, but it felt like
40? I mean, if you fell off it, you would die.
I don't know if I would potentially die. I would definitely fucking injure myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was pretty severe.
Yeah, it was scary, for sure.
It was scary. So we're like, I think this is the only way to go. I mean, the alternative was to backtrack a couple kilometers, walk up a mountain, and then back to where we started. But that was, like, not ideal.
Basically, at that point, the alternative was trying to scale down that rock face that we just climbed up. And I was like, that feels so scary to me.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we could have done it, for sure. But it felt like, wow, like it felt like a big-ass no in my body.
Yeah. That was sort of the climax of the terror of the day. Do you think?
I feel like it was. If I may, can I speak to a few things.
Sure.
So for me, the moment when Jeremy made the suggestion to go left versus right, I had the intuitive feeling in my body that was like, no, we probably shouldn't do that. And I didn't listen to it. And almost immediately as we started going left, like it felt like I was swimming upstream. Like I was getting branches in my face and just things were getting difficult. Things were getting stuck in my hair. Like it already felt as if like the universe was like, fucking stop. And I continued to not listen.
Well, remember you fell and then threw your phone in the air?
That was another part. Yeah. So this was the beginning.
Yeah.
And I was like just kind of breathing and coaxing myself and totally discounting the truth of what my body was telling me. And then we got to this beautiful view. And like, yeah, it was gorgeous. And the reason why I said at the beginning it was on a Tuesday, because I feel like that is important, because we kept referencing on our hike, like, it's so cool that we get to do this on a Tuesday. And so there was a part of me that's like, yeah, this is such a beautiful view. Like, we got naked on top of a mountain, one of my favorite things to do.
There's nobody up there.
Nobody up there. And it's just like, yeah, like, this is our Tuesday. This is so great. But shortly after that was when, like, we were like, where's the trail? Where do we go? And I kept, like, it was beautiful. And there was, like, a lot of beautiful moments. And this is where I started to feel like it was really humbling, where I was just like, we actually don't know how long this is going to be. We're not actually that prepared. We, like, for me in my experience was like, yeah, we go on these big hikes and we do these things and we're not prepared for this. And like, I really felt like our ego, and I'll speak for myself. I felt like my ego was really like, yeah, you know, like, quiet down, intuition. Like, we can do these things because we've done these things before. We'll be fine. Like, whatever. Like, we do hard things, and which is definitely what this was. But it was so humbling, because it's like, there's a reason why there's specific gear. There's a reason why you know, do your research on certain hikes, which was one of the things that came up in our conversation around, like, why not go left and instead go right, was because we hadn't really researched it. And, like, given we didn't really research the right way either, but when you looked on the map, you could see it was more grassy, whereas the left route was like mountain ridges where you're literally climbing rock faces. We didn't have any proper gear for that. So anyway, getting to the pivotal moment where it was like, it felt like everything kind of built up to that moment in my nervous system. Something also important to note was this was like a day after I was just in a really intense 4-day long like event called Resurrection, which literally was a lot of work in my nervous system. Like, it was energetically, if anybody's just listening to this that was there, you know.
And she even told you, like, take it easy for the rest of the week. Don't do anything drastic.
Yeah.
Chill out.
And I was like, I'm excited to be in nature, but this was not what I had in mind. And so I felt quite wobbly in my body. I felt like I wasn't quite centered in my nervous system. Like, I felt really like not very confident in my dexterity and the movements that I normally know that I have when I'm hiking or when I'm moving outside. And so doing this really challenging, technical, totally fucked hike and being on the side of this rock face, like, my nervous system was like screaming at me and I wanted to cry. And I had never had this experience on a hike before, where I was like so agitated, annoyed, frustrated. And something else I just quickly want to say to this, where we can move into like how this brought us really together, or like where there was like a moment of choice. I feel like for me, and I'm speaking to myself, is that like there was a huge part of my ego that wanted to blame you, that wanted to blame, like, well, he chose to go left, like, if he's the one. And like the truth of me when I sat with that was like, Kendra, fucking sovereignty, you said yes, you went, and what is this like wanting to blame Jeremy have anything to do with anything? Like, how is that going to serve you? Like, you're upset about the situation that you brought yourself in because you didn't listen to your intuition and you didn't speak up.
Yeah, you weren't mad that you listened to me. You were mad
that I didn't listen to myself.
Yes.
And I wanted to blame you for that. Well, there was like the ego part of me that wanted to blame you for that. And so that was really interesting to have this like inner dialogue thing kind of happening, and this like moments of frustration and like being silent. And then really that pivotal moment though was like really telling for us, I feel, because I could see it in your face at that time and you could see it in my face, where I was like, I don't like this. And I sat down and I think I started crying then, and I was like, I don't like this. And you're like, I don't like this either. And you went up to find the rest of the route, and then
I was like, don't move, just sit there, I'll go check it out.
And I haven't posted it yet, but I'll post it a little bit on my Instagram this exact moment, because I was like,
I have a video of it.
I have a video of it. I wanted to capture like myself in this process for my own stuff. And so anyway, we finally kind of got over that literal and metaphorical ledge and took a moment to embrace each other, and it was really beautiful.
Humbling is the word. Like, we're capable outdoors people, but I think just to make it relatable to people, this was something unexpected occurred that was not anticipated. And like, we were prepared for the hike. Like, we had water, we had snacks. On the app, I had alerted a family member that like, we're doing a hike. If we're not back by this time, then, come look for us, because something bad's happened. So I've kind of ticked the boxes. But upon reflection later, I was like, oh, I could have easily brought more food. I could have brought some fruit. I could have brought extra water, because it was to the point where I was starting to like ration water a bit, having a little bit of a panic, getting anxious. And then also just recognizing that like, I was fucking tired. Like the climb up to that mountain was hard.
And it was really warm that day too.
And it was really hot. I mean, that's why we were able to get naked up there. It was fucking hot. And so I was physically kind of at my limit. And then all of these things started happening, where then suddenly I'm mentally at my capacity, because I'm trying to think about, how are we going to get down? Who do I need to call? Do we have phone reception? How much battery do I have? How much battery does my backup battery have? Like, what's the best step? I'm analyzing, etc. And then there's the relational / emotional component, which is doing this in partnership and seeing your distress, and then your distress kind of inviting me to check in with my own distress, and realizing, oh shit, like, I'm scared right now. Like, I'm really scared, and I'm scared about what's happening, but I'm also scared that something will happen to you. Like, I've never left a girlfriend on the side of a rock face to go and scale this thing and try to figure out a way down the mountain. And I think another component was, like, we knew exactly where we were. Like, we had a map, and then at the top of that, you could even see the gondola station, right? It's like, oh, we're so close. And this is why it was challenging, at least some aspect of the mental. It's like, I don't know how to get us down this fucking mountain, because there's a 1,000-foot cliff on that side, and there's a rock face on that side. But we're like maybe 4 kilometers, so is it 2 miles from actually where we need to end? And that's going to take us,
I think it's a bit longer,
2 hours or so.
Yeah,
so it was just at the edge, feeling the capacity, exhaustion, fear. It was a smorgasbord of all of those kind of challenges. And then being invited to navigate that in conversation and in a relationship with you, who was feeling very much the same way. And so I think at some point I was like, hey, like, come here. Like, we need to have a minute. Like, come here. Like, come look at me. Like, let's embrace, or like just check in, and like just get on the same page, right? Like, we're gonna be okay. Like, worst case scenario, like, we got to get choppered out of here or whatever. but like we'll be okay, and I love you, and like I got you, I think.
Yeah.
Something.
Well, what I really remember from that was we both got really emotional, and you got really emotional. And you were like, one of the biggest things was like, I can't imagine if something happened to you. And like, you were actually also blaming yourself at that point.
Yeah, that was like after we'd got over that hard, scary part, and we're like coming back down the trail, and it kind of realized, okay, now we're good. We've made it through the hard bit. Like, we're going to be okay. And then I was kind of walking in front of you for a while, and I started like relaxing a little bit or feeling relief. And then I think the like fight or flight chemicals in my body decreased, and I was left with the emotion or the space to actually start thinking like what just happened, right? To have some space to reflect. And that's when I was like, oh man, like if something happened to you, that would be devastating to me. And I felt in charge because I like had the map, and
I also had a map, actually.
Yes, you did also have a map, and you were leading for much of this. I'm not trying to take anything away from that, but I felt responsible because it was like my idea.
Yeah.
Even though you agreed to it, it was like I had the idea, and I felt like I was blaming myself. Like, man, fuck, playing the should game. Should have just gone straight back down that steep bit and walked home. We would have been home by now. Or should have just stuck to the plan. Or better. I was judging myself, shaming myself. Like, you know better than this. Like, to not just go randomly experience nature and wildlife and whatnot.
Because that was just, I think, a big, huge part of the humbling thing is, like, it's wildlife. And, like,
we're walking past piles of bear shit.
And, like, we may, like, joke around, like, hashtag, wildlife. But, like, no, this is not to be fucked with. It's so humbling, and, like, the amount of respect. And I think a huge part of this, too, and why, like, I was feeling frustration and the ego part wanted to rear up and blame. And I could see how these conversations, or like this part of me, I can see where in some relationships, this is where it could have gotten really sticky and tricky, because one of the reasons why we chose and why you proposed that we go left, it was like, oh, it'll actually be shorter. And we're like, well, the thing is that we actually kept losing the trail, don't know where the fuck we're going because we didn't research any of this. Like, it was much longer.
It was a shorter distance on the map, but
the actual experience
time
was longer. But so when we were in those moments though, what I want to say with this is, like, while ego and like stories kept wanting to show up and being like, yeah, like he's the one that chose left, and like blame, like, first of all, that's not the truth of like the essence of me. The truth is just like, the sovereign choice was that I chose and I didn't speak up, and like that was my own inner working. The other piece is, like, underneath all of that is like, if something did happen to either of us, if something did happen to you, like, fuck the blame, like none of that fucking matters. And so those moments, and like when you were getting quite emotional and you were like I like you a lot, I really love you, I don't want anything to happen to you, and like we both get really sad, and you were like blaming and judging yourself. I was like, okay, first of all, I chose, and that was like,
I remember you very forcefully. You're like, this isn't your fault.
It's like, this is not your fault. As much as like I was like having my internal thing with my ego, I'm like, but it's not his fault. It's like, there's no fault here. Yeah. And so having that conversation, just like underneath all of like whatever, annoyed, frustrated, agitated, like emotions that want to come up, it's like underneath all of that is like, we actually just really care. And what's really matters, what's really important is that, like, I love this person and that we get to where we're needing to go safely together. And I feel like the rest of the hike from that moment, while there were still some tricky bits, like I fell a couple times. I had, like, again, my intuition, it was almost like intuition universe was like, you should have listened, you should have spoken.
And like, for context, you never fall on hikes.
Very rarely. Very rarely.
This one, it was like 4 or 5 times I think I saw you.
I had like a lot of, it was
wobbly.
I was very wobbly.
Yeah.
But I would say emotionally and like just, it's difficult to put into words, but like the spiritual essence for the rest of the hike after we had that like soul connect, it felt a lot lighter. It felt a lot like, okay, like we're good, we love each other, and like ego's not driving this bus anymore.
Yeah, we just had to like clear the stories and the nonsense.
Yeah.
Like basically it was like, now it's much easier now looking back, but I was sort of like, the story I'm telling myself is I'm to blame, I'm at fault, and I'm terrified something's going to happen to you, and I'm really judging and shitting all over myself right now. Mm-hmm. And to your credit, in that moment, when everything was falling apart and you're exhausted, you recognized that and said, like, this isn't your fault. Mm-hmm. I didn't manipulate you. I didn't coerce you. I didn't, like, shove you down a hill with a rope. Like, you chose to be there, and you owned that. And you... speaking to that, I think helped clear some of that junk out of your system.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, give me a hug. I think we like kissed and then said sweet things about each other and continued the journey.
Yeah.
And so I think the reason we want to share this episode on this episode is because it's a metaphor for life, for relationships. Like for us, it was a hike, but for you listening, it might be the death of a loved one, or somebody gets fired, or you lose some money, or you get robbed, or you get sick, etc. Something comes out of left field unexpectedly and shakes everything up, right? And I think that what we're trying to describe here is a way that we navigated that in hopes of learning from it, because we haven't really talked about it since it happened. No. We didn't put it on Instagram. It was like the hike we do not talk about. It was traumatizing.
I'll be sharing about it later because I feel like we both have had our time to process.
Yeah, we want to. I have so much content from that day. It was beautiful.
It was a really beautiful.
And we came home and just like ate a bunch of food, showered, and just like didn't talk about the hike.
We watched that movie. I think we watched a silly movie about pickles. Is that the night that we watched?
The Seth Rogen one?
Seth Rogen one about a pickle.
Pickle life.
We were like, I just need to watch something absolutely mindless.
Yeah, you said that. And I was like, I found a movie online where Seth Rogen turns into a pickle. And you're like, perfect. Let's just fucking intentionally not be here for this moment. Out.
But yeah, we were also kind of joking that the whole day was like, it was like almost like a sequence of just like life itself, of like there was a lot of excitement. We're like, oh yeah, hike day, we love our hike day, going up, like
we're so blessed, hashtag outdoor life.
Like, oh, this is our Tuesday, everything's exciting. And then like wrong turn. It was just like the full spectrum of every emotion of like despair, frustration, anger, sadness, and then overwhelming gratitude, appreciation, and
remember we got back to the gondola cafe and you got like a vegan cookie and you went to the bathroom and left me to eat it.
No, I came back.
You came back and I had just like the biggest shit-eating grin on my face. I was like the best tasting cookie I'd ever had.
And
because I was so grateful to be sitting down comfortable and eating a cookie.
And like all we were talking about was getting cold coconut water.
Oh yeah, that was a lesson too.
And we got there, we're like, we don't see any, and we were like, is there any coconut water? And you asked, like, can you just please look? And then she was like, yeah, but it might not be cold. And then she opened up the fridge or whatever in the back. She was like, there was one left. And we were like, oh.
And it was cold.
Like, it was cold. And we wanted coconut water. And yeah, but I feel like this was really important for us for a few things. It's just like humbling for the way we approach doing big hikes and like, really either doing our research or just like truly for me personally was like honoring that fucking intuition. Like all of it was perfect. Everything that happened was supposed to happen. We were supposed to have like that kind of breakthrough moment for our relationship. And also I'm really proud of us. Like, because like I was saying before, I could really see in other relationships and definitely past variations of myself where like I would have fucking laid the blame out I would have been such a bitch.
Victim.
And been like, oh, woe is me. Like, I could have died. Like, I could have pulled all of these cards. And
codependent old Jer would have been like, totally responsible for your feelings and trying to fix you and try to make it better and not realizing or addressing how I actually feel.
Mm-hmm. And the other piece that just came up for me that I wanted to say too is, like, afterwards, I feel like I think we both were just like, I'm so grateful for you legs. I'm so grateful for you lungs. I'm so grateful for you body. Just like, I was just really taking this moment of like, I mean, honoring my body is like a big piece of just the work that I do in the world. And just like, wow, body, I didn't listen to you. And we just went through a lot. And I just like, it's a relationship. And so just like having that moment of like real hand on heart, being like, I'm sorry and I love you and I acknowledge you and I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to make sure you have such great nutrients and sustenance. We're going to sleep. And I just like, thank you. And I'm so grateful for you. And like both of us were just like so grateful that we have the health that we do to be able to make it to the end of this hike. And
I remember we were walking and I was like, thanks toes, and I heard you being like, thanks shins, like thanks calves, thanks heels,
thanks glutes,
thanks pancreas,
thank you digestion, thank you heart.
It was the best case, worst case scenario, really. I mean, we were both bleeding, we were filthy, we were exhausted, dehydrated.
And so we, for context too, I think we started our hike around 9:30 a.m. because the gondola doesn't open till 9.
Yeah.
And we ended and we're back home around 5. It was like 4:35.
Yeah, it became like a 6.5 hour hike.
Yeah.
When it's like that Gilligan's Island. Like,
which is like, we've done those before, but we also didn't go in with the mindset or plan to do that long of a hike.
That's the part that was really confronting for me, is I was not prepared for that. If we had gone in, and even I was just flipping through this guidebook that we have about all the hikes in Squamish, I looked it up a couple days ago, and it described it as like intermittent, difficult, complicated, not all there. Like, it describes it very accurately.
Yeah. So, like, if we had read that.
And I had read that and been like, hey, Kendra, like, let's do this gnarly 6-hour, like, backwoods kind of really challenging thing. Then I've been like, oh, okay, yeah, like, let's pack some extra food and, like, pack some water. And mentally, I'm going to prepare for a marathon, right? Whereas I kind of feel like what happened was, hey, let's go do a 5K. Let's go run 5 miles. And then the universe was like, ha ha ha.
Yeah.
You're going to do a marathon right now. It's like, no, I'm not.
Which I feel like is also a really beautiful testament, and why everything, again, is so perfect, is like, things in life we're never always going to have plans for.
Yeah,
we're never going to be fully prepared for. And so that's why it was also really perfect. It was like, well, how do we show up in this? And like, there were wobbly moments, and there was a lot of confrontation and like lots of loud ego, and we made it through, and we also sat with it, and we like did our own processing, and
the bond is stronger between us now.
Yeah.
Like, I've thought that for a long time. Is you'd often see these relationship retreats where the couples go to Club Med and lay by the pool and drink a Mai Tai. And I don't find that I feel more connected to you like when I have like a lovely dinner. Like, I find that I'm more connected to you when shit hits the fan, or we have an argument, or we resolve conflict, or we do something really hard together. It's like, oh, then I feel like the bond is strong. Then I can trust you. Then I can rely on you. Then I actually see who you really are in those moments. And I get to see you choose love and to choose to come towards me in those challenges. So I feel like that's a more effective form of building a relationship.
Yeah.
But not all the time, and I don't want to like do that hike again.
I would do it again.
Would you?
But like prepared and like knowing like I know where to go now.
The view up the top was so
The view
pretty.
is absolutely stunning. One of the most, that was part of like the,
you know what would be healing would be to do it again. And like,
That's a great idea, Jeremy. Let's do it again.
is that what you're gonna say?
No, I just said it.
I know, but I mean, like, to do it intentionally, of like, let's rewrite a memory. Like, let's have a good, terrible hike. Like, because it's kind of, it's the hike. Like, we're talking about the podcast.
Yeah.
But to do it again would be like.
It would be. Because, like, what I was going to say was, like, this sort of nuance or paradox, I don't know what the best word to say this is, like, as frightening and all of the sensations that happen in my body around this, like, it was probably one of the most beautiful hikes. Like, just the views and what we got to see, and like,
it's insane.
it was absolutely gorgeous, and like the most humbling and terrifying that I've gotten to experience. And also, like, and I feel like this kind of goes without saying, but while I mentioned that this is the first time that I know that I've ever done a hike where I felt all of these things, like, it was the first for me to feel that. And it was first for us in a partnership to be on a hike and feel this too. Like,
yeah, it made me more compassionate as well, because I started thinking about people that do need to get rescued by the helicopter. Or you read these news stories about people that get lost and have to spend the night in the woods.
Yeah.
Or they spend 3 days lost and then they get found. And I always saw those things and I didn't emotionally connect to those experiences.
I'm
like, oh,
wow.
that's cool. Like, yeah, they slept in the woods, like, whatever. But then being in that scenario, like, we're going to have to call a fucking helicopter, or that's a possibility at least. It may be, I guess humility is the word. And then also just, I felt more compassion for people who have gone through experiences similar to that, I suppose.
Trusting intuition. So
that's a big one.
So the other piece that I felt like, again, it's so perfect, and why this was also necessary was, while I didn't trust my intuition, I got very much reminded of what it feels like when I don't, which I think is just as important to discern.
Yep.
Because I can fucking feel it.
Yeah, you're an antenna.
I can, and I feel like any of us can feel it.
Any of us.
Like, it feels agitating. It feels rigid. It feels very, like, tense. And, like, and then in that energy, like, everything else feels and becomes more tense, like falling down a lot. And
yeah, it's interesting because for me, looking back, it didn't feel that way for me. Like, my intuitive pull was like, I always say it's like a heart whisper. It's like, psst, hey, maybe we should stick to the plan. And I'm like, and then my brain is like, no, we'll be fine. I've got the app. Like, we got some water. Like, this will be an adventure. And I felt this little like, psst, but you know, you don't know anything about where you're going. And that was the pull. And like, I know this, and like the hard part for me was like, I know better. Like, when I used to work in scuba diving, in the industry, there's a phrase which is like, plan the dive the plan. Right? It's that. So you plan exactly where you're going to go. You plan how long you're going to go down there. You plan where you're going to go, when you're going to come back, how long is your safety stop. So you plan the dive, and then you dive the plan. Because 100 feet underwater, like, you can't make mistakes.
Yeah.
Like, there's no room for those kind of errors. Like, you die, you run out of air, or you get lost, or something bad happens. But on land, it's like, nah. So it's like, plan the walk the plan is perhaps an adaptation that we could implement.
yeah, and like, I love adventure, and I love leaving room and space for that. And there's a difference between having like the safety, maybe safety is not the right word, but like the importance of there being somewhat of a structure in order to allow like adventure in between that to unfold. And like really feeling and discerning like what actually feels like actually that's kind of, you know, dangerous versus like yeah, this little bit of adventure, like this is fun, like we can do this, if that makes sense. Like, there's a difference between being adventurous and then like being
it's about risk. You're talking about risk management, I think. So creating a safe space within which to take a couple of calculated risks in the name of adventure or spontaneity versus just diving into something without any knowledge, without any research, without significant preparation. That creates a heightened sense of risk, which leads to a greater likelihood of danger. Right? So if you're listening and you like hiking, download an app called All Trails.
Yes.
Use the Lifeline feature, which alerts an emergency contact. Do some fucking research. Look up what you need.
Having, like, and this is something that we're still in process of acquiring, but like getting like a first aid kit or like a beacon. Because if you don't have self-service and if you are like lost in the middle of freaking nowhere, a beacon can be really supportive. Adequate amounts of water, or if anything, like water cleansing tablets or something, so that if you can find a stream or a source of water.
For me, one lesson is not just to be prepared, but to be over prepared. So like when we go for hikes, I'm like, okay, it's gonna be 3 hours. I should take a banana and a bar and like this much water. I'm like, that'll be enough. Whereas now I think I'd be like, I'm gonna take enough and I'm gonna take this extra, like just in case. Like if you lost your water bottle and needed water, or if something bad happened, right? Or if we just want to stay longer because we found a beautiful spot, then I'm like, I'm prepared for the eventualities to unfold.
And there's like the physical preparedness of like the tangibles, like you just listed, and then there's also like just the mental preparedness and awareness of like life is going to happen. We're not always going to be able to prepare for everything, and just like really honor where your capacity is at too. I think that's important, because I feel like we went beyond a little bit of our capacity, but it's also then expanded our capacity.
Beyond our like anticipated capacity. Like you said, if we knew, like, hey, like I've done Spartan races, you've done races, you've done hard things, or played games, soccer games and stuff. Like if you're mentally ready to do that thing, it's different than if you just randomly get chosen to do that thing because of the universe looking down. I don't know.
Just trust the feeling in your body.
Yes. So there's our podcast about the hike.
And how I'm really grateful and proud of us that it actually brought us close together, and just again the very humbling experience to be with like how ego can really show up in these moments. And I feel like the work that we both have done to be with ourselves in our day-to-day, so that when like actual like crazy moments like this show up, we're able to really like be with it and like listen and witness all the stories and like make the choice that's actually true.
Like having the awareness.
That's
the word, I think.
Yeah.
Of what we're feeling, how we're navigating it, what our options are.
Yeah.
Choosing the best one.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah.
Well, I love you, Kendra Adachi.
I love you, Jeremy Goldberg.
I'm glad we are still alive.
I'm glad we're still alive.
Thanks for being a good teammate.
Thank you for being a warm, fuzzy partner.
That was an awkward way to end it, but it's perfect.